Hello, I'm Jean Pete, and I welcome you back to our show, Better Living. Better Living is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and is sponsored by Homestead Hospice, where commitment to education and premier hospice care helps patients and families through life's most important journey. Thanks again for joining me for another great show. This week, I'm going to introduce you to David Allred, who is a financial coach and investment advisor with Heritage Wealth Advisors here in Atlanta, Georgia. But no matter where you're listening from, because I know we have listeners in Phoenix and in the Gulf Coast in New Orleans, important information today about all things finances and how it's related to seniors. So David, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining me today. Let's talk a little bit about your background and how you ended up at Heritage Wealth Advisors.
I've been working with seniors in financial planning, estate planning for almost 10 years now. I'm a Southern boy from North Carolina and ended up in Atlanta courtesy of Emory University and liked it here. So now I'm a Georgia peach. I've lived here longer now than I have anywhere else. I guess it's official now. But working with my own grandmother years ago, getting her estate put together with a family farm that we wanted to prevent from taxes debilitating that estate, I've just recognized there is a specific and unique need for people in retirement to A, get there, and B, stay there. And so our entire focus is on basically people who are about to retire or already retired and the special situations and circumstances that surround that. And do you get calls from them or maybe their family members for help? Both. You do? We have certain times we'll have a client that will call, has an aging parent, needs to maybe be placed into assisted living or a home health care option, and that's an expense that most people have not budgeted for. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the vast majority of people do not have any form of long-term care insurance, so it's a private pay, right out of the pocket. So we come in and help people, structure their income so they can't outlive it. That's very important. People are living longer. A couple today that are age 65, there's a 50% chance one of them will live to be 95. So, you're talking about if you retire at 65 and live to 85, that's 20 years of retirement. Mm-hmm. And I call that 20 years of unemployment. That's true. So how are you going to take that nest egg that you work very hard to build and turn it into a lifetime income? And that's really where we focus on. Especially with what we're going through now in this country and with all the cuts in Medicare and Medicaid and who knows what else with this whole sequestration about to occur and how that's going to affect our seniors as well. They're not going to be getting any more money. Right? They're only going to be getting cuts in what they've worked hard for, i.e. Social Security or whatever. I think this, who knows what Washington will do. But I can say that if you look at historical tax rates from the dawn of the tax code to now, we're actually at very historic low tax rates. So I know there was a raise in rates end of last year. I can assure you that there's no way they can't not keep going up. So a lot of times we talk to people about IRA Roth conversions, for example. When you reach 70 and a half, the IRS says you must take a required minimum distribution out of your IRA. And for a lot of people, that's fine. They're using that's their nest egg to spend on, food, groceries, grandkids, etc. But there are, a majority of people that have IRAs that they want to save for multi-generations and want to save on taxes. Now's the time to do a Roth conversion and take advantage of the low tax rate, and we have some specialty planning, obviously, to help with that. So okay, we have a whole show those are issues there. Just in those last two sentences you said on the radio. You got that right. Let me back you up a little bit. Okay. We're going to today try to get to the kind of top level and simplify it of asset preservation and providing lifetime income, helping people prepare for the rest of their lives financially. We're never going to be able to get all of the details in, but I don't know if you know my background. I worked for 10 years at John Hancock. Oh, wow. So you Financial Services. You definitely know the world. What you've overwhelmed me with, and I already know some stuff, we've got to kind of dissect and bring it down to a more simplified fashion. First of all, let's talk about IRAs. Because you do have folks that have IRAs and that might be ready to retire. And so what do you do with that? And we'll get into the Roth conversion. So walk them through what is an IRA and why would a Roth conversion be a smart move for them to make? Well, the first step, anybody that retires with a 401k, the first thing they need to do is roll that over into an IRA. The 401k is a great program for people It replaced the pension program, that the defined benefits that most people had back in the day. So this is your pension. So you need to roll the 401k into an IRA. That gives you, the individual, all the choices. An IRA is an individual retirement account.
And you would recommend rolling it when they're no longer working at that company rather than leaving it in the 401k form?
Absolutely, because there are costs and fees associated with that 401k, and you have limited choice because the third-party administrator, whoever's running it for that company, has a limited bucket. And some buckets are really limited, some buckets are very wide, but it's still their program. So you should roll that into an IRA, and then you can make decisions at that point. And we basically make it into, a paycheck for life. You want to be able to say you are having some level of Social Security now. We do know, and we can talk about when do you take Social Security, 62, 65, 70, etc. But you want to roll that into an IRA, and then you can make decisions to have lifetime income, make decisions so that you can get the right vehicles, the right investment mix that's going to make sure that you don't run out of money, because that's the people that walk in our office say, I'm afraid I'm going to live too long, which is a weird thing to think about. I'm afraid I'm going to live too long. I mean, we want to live a long and robust life, but if they don't plan properly at that moment, they can really set themselves up for failure later on.
And protect their assets, then they could end up outliving their income.
Absolutely.
And all the hard work that they did for years and years. So it's very important. Okay, so step one, if you have a 401k, you want to roll it into an IRA.
Yes.
Absolutely, so that you can take control over your retirement assets and you don't have it in a vehicle, which is a AKA 401k, where someone else is in control of your assets.
Absolutely.
Once you get it into an IRA, let's talk IRA versus Roth IRA versus Roth.
The traditional IRA is where the 401k would land, because that's all tax qualified money. What that means is taxes have never been paid on that money. It was taken out of your paycheck before you ever got it. So therefore Uncle Sam hasn't had his bite at the apple yet, which is why you have to have that age 70 and a half required minimum distribution, because Uncle Sam wants his piece. There's us, mine, and yours, and theirs is the IRS. So you have a partner in these programs. A Roth IRA, you pay the taxes on the money when you deposit into the Roth account, then you never ever pay taxes again on what you put in or the growth. So you can put $100,000 into a Roth, pay the tax at the $100,000 level. It can grow to $10 million. You will never pay tax on that $10 million or whatever it grows up to ever again.
Which is such an important point. I want to stress it, because there's two schools of thought here. Or it may be the right thing for you to roll it into a Roth, or it may not be, based upon what your situation is when you're taking it out of that 401k.
Exactly. Everyone is different. If it was, a cookie cutter program, then it would make my job, obsolete, but it would also, it would limit choice. So if you are in a lower tax bracket, and the theory behind the IRAs and the 401ks is that you're at a lower tax bracket in retirement than you were when you were earning the money, therefore you get, a bump on the money. And they're great things to have, and people should have them, maximize them. With tax rates possibly going up, it may not be the same case. But if your tax bracket is low enough and you're just pulling out a little bit of IRA money to live off of and pay your bills, then and you don't have another bucket of money elsewhere, then maybe a Roth conversion wouldn't be appropriate. Maybe you can work within the tax structure the way it was designed and the way you kind of planned for it. However, if you're in a different situation where the IRA is just kind of saved money for long term down the line, maybe for a spouse, maybe for children, and you have other assets that can help offset the tax, then a Roth conversion really can make a lot of sense. And obviously when a client comes in, we run the numbers left, right, backwards, and forwards, and then the numbers really kind of speak for themselves at that point.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting me take you a step back, because sometimes this can just get so confusing and people, they don't follow us. And I want to try to keep it simple so that folks can follow us. Okay, so we've talked about 401ks and IRAs and Roth IRAs. Now let's talk about other retirement vehicles. What else can someone do to help preserve their assets and provide a lifetime income for themselves?
Well, the insurance industry has basically the the lock, I would say, on providing income vehicles. I mean, they've got the actuarial tables, they've got the systems, and they're the people that through either lifetime annuities, income annuities, cash value life policies, etc. And that gets kind of complicated, of course, but they have the vehicles that create the money that you can't outlive, and they're the ones that have it down. Obviously, you want to have, for inflation protection, you want to have, possibly an equity market exposure. But if you have, I've met with clients who are 85 years old who are 95% in the market, and that's just crazy. I mean, the balance has got to be there, and everybody is different. I mean, I have worked with clients who say, you know what, I just want to make sure this check comes in every month, no matter what. I'm taken care of. My husband, my wife are taken care of, and that's one vehicle. Otherwise, people might look at other things that say, I want to have some mix of the market and some mix of guaranteed income. But what we always want to do is make sure that the bills can get paid. There's your paycheck, and then there's your play check. So your paycheck is going to cover...
I want a play check.
There you go. Don't we all? So basically, if you're able to create an income stream that will cover the heat, the gas, the healthcare, the food, the shelter, then once that's locked in, you can rest easy at night. You can sleep well knowing my bills are paid, nothing can go wrong here. And then maybe you can have some other exposure for upside. But you're right, that's really, I mean, some people look at bonds, some people look at different, instruments, but really, in my opinion, the insurance products that are out there through annuities and cash value life are the strongest for guarantees.
And it will help you. You're entering into a new phase of your life, and you want to make sure that what you've done throughout your entire life to make sure that you raised your children, you had enough money to get them to the next phase. Now it's time for you to think about you and living the rest of your life to your means. And so it will help you where you can establish a budget and say, here's the investment vehicle we're going to use, and so that we can ensure, like you said, David, that you can pay your bills and that you can live comfortably on this budget. But then we're going to look at the rest of this and help you prepare for the future. Like you had talked about, let's talk a little bit about long-term care insurance. Do you recommend that for folks, or how do you delve into that?
We certainly do. And what you're talking about, the different phase of your life, what I tell people, if I'm meeting somebody who's maybe 65 and they're retiring, I tell them, you spent the last 50 years, I'm sure at 15 you had a job mowing grass or working at the grocery store or the farm or what have you. You spent the past 50 years accumulating. You've been in the accumulation phase for the past 50 years. You're now in the preservation and distribution phase. Chances are what you've got is what you've got, unless you've got a rich uncle that's going to leave you, some big inheritance or something like that. Pretty much that's the quote-unquote nest egg. So you have to preserve it and distribute it back to yourself. And so a lot of people, like you said, they want values passed on. So, a lot of times people want to take what's been a successful life and make it a significant life. I ask people, can you tell me the name of your great-grandfather? Chances are they can't. But would you like to set up, a legacy that your great-grandchildren know who you are?
I love that.
So, I think that's a great opportunity for a lot of people to be able to say, hey, I want to impart my values. We're talking about money, of course, and we're talking without, a safe and secure retirement income, it creates a lot of stress. Stress is bad for health. Stress will, diminish your happiness and fulfillment in retirement. But there's also values. There's also, family history. There's, folklore and stories that maybe you want to share. And if you can create, a significance and create a legacy that keeps that going, that would be fantastic. I was at a conference learning some great information. A lot of people today set up trusts, living trusts for managing their affairs, which is a great tool. Well, chances are it's named the Mr. and Miss Smith Living Trust. And when they pass away, the kids start receiving money from their mom and dad's trust. And they're looking at the statement every month, and it's like, mom and dad's trust. This is mom and dad's money. This is not mine. And this gentleman said he changes it to the Smith the Powerful Smith Trust or something like that, because then the children and the grandchildren, they continue to see these statements, the checks that come in, and it's the powerful Smith Family Trust, and it kind of empowers that second and third generation to continue on. So I thought that was a really neat idea, and
it is, and I wonder where all the creative minds are going to go with that now.
Yes,
and what the names of the trusts we're going to be seeing in the future
absolutely.
are. That's funny,
but that's great because that's going to be that person's value, that person's beliefs, and they're able to continue that long after they're gone. I mean, how powerful is that?
Absolutely. So what are some of the, because here's what I see. I've worked in healthcare for a long time, and I worked in the financial industry prior to getting into the healthcare industry. And so I saw the accumulation phase, and now I'm seeing the end of life phase. And in between those two phases, a lot happens and not enough preparation and education and knowledge on how to connect the two is occurring. And so I'm blessed, I say it every week, to be here to educate our communities on all different aspects of living. So as you're talking about getting from the accumulation phase to the distribution and lifetime preservation phase, I'm sitting here thinking about all of the things that can happen in terms of health and what people don't realize and what people don't plan for. So can you talk a little bit about how you help your seniors and your clients to prepare and try to be as well-rounded and balanced in their portfolio as possible so they can preserve that income?
The hardest part about trying to broach the long-term care issue is no one believes they're ever going to need it.
Right.
And, denial isn't just a river. And it's just a fact of life that the percentages are there. The numbers are there. It's a statistics.
Well, they say, I think, and I might have this wrong, so don't quote me, but that 1 in 8 people in the future, as the population ages, will be stricken with dementia or some form of it. That's a lot. That's
a lot. And the numbers I see is basically at least a third, if not half, will have to have some sort of either home care or assisted living care. And for people that are listening, and when I say assisted living, I'm not talking about skilled care nursing home that most people think about. I'm talking about some gorgeous, wonderful assisted living communities, senior living communities, where if they would let me move in at age 40, I would.
It's like a hotel.
It's like living at a resort. They cook, they clean, they take care of everything for you. They drive you around. I visit lots of clients at these different communities, and the board is full of activities, 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11, 11:30, 12 o'clock. So, and a lot of times I had a client who had to move in for some rehabilitative care, and she told me as soon as she was better, she was out of there. She was back in her house. She was not going to stay. Well, let me tell you what. She sold the house, and she ran the
activities,
the bridge game there every day.
I love it.
You couldn't blast her out there with dynamite because the socialization, the activities, and she felt like she was, not doing her duty by cooking and cleaning and running a house. And when she realized that she was being waited on hand and foot, she said, why did I wait so long? So
I call it the fraternity and sorority for older age.
There you go. So when it comes time to paying for it, there are a lot of new vehicles out there that allow you to use IRA money. The Pension Protection Act of 2006 allows us to use IRA money and tax-qualified money to pay for long-term care tax-free. So that was a big boon.
That's great.
And these vehicles allow you to either, if you can plan for this possibility, if you need assisted living, if you need a home health care nurse agent to come in and assist you. But if you don't, there's a tax-free benefit associated with a lot of these that kind of act like a life insurance policy because they're built inside that type of chassis, so that now what you set aside for long-term care, if you never need it, now goes to your heirs 100% tax-free. So to me, when I'm able to put that in front of people and say, look, I understand you don't think you want to go here, you don't think it's ever going to happen to you, but let's just pretend that it might. Let's just, for the sake of argument, say that it could happen. Here's a way that you can fund that and make it tax advantaged in one way. And if you never need it, it goes to your heirs tax free. So it kind of takes the sting out of maybe having to visualize that. As I tell people, when you're home at Thanksgiving, when you're at the family wedding, when you're at these, 4th of July barbecues, nobody sits around and talks about, hey, Mom, if you need to go to assisted living, where would you like to go? Or have you updated your will? Or have you really thought about inflationary cost on healthcare spending? These are not conversations we have while we're carving up the turkey. So, we're sitting right here by the interstate, and
it's more like, did you talk to Aunt Betty last week? What's going on?
Right. You go in circles and talk by back channels. But as we sit here, there's an interstate flowing right by us with thousands of cars going to work, going to school, going to pick the kids up, going to help with the grandkids, going to church, delivering Meals on Wheels, doing lots of great things, but they need to spend an hour just sitting down with somebody to do a financial plan, do an assessment just to say, hey, where are we? Where are we going? John Lennon said, life is what happens while you're busy making other plans.
That's right.
And what you were saying earlier is there's so much between these two phases, and a lot of decisions get made, and a lot of indecision, which is a decision, gets made. Doing nothing is not an option.
It's not. And I see it all the time because I have worked in healthcare after coming out of the financial industry. And honestly, folks, I come here every week to educate and inform you so that you can be planful about the future. And I'm always giving you things to do. I understand indecision is a decision too. And it's overwhelming to get everything right. But I've seen so many people who lived a wonderful, privileged life, and they all end up in the same nursing home because they didn't plan well for their future. And so I want to talk again. I got the point, and I think our audience has got the point, that there is a vehicle out there that can help them buy insurance so that if they need this type of service, they can get it. But if they never use it, it will go on to their children so they don't lose their money that they've invested. Can you tell me again what that vehicle is called?
It doesn't really, it's kind of basically a hybrid long-term care life policy. It's an asset-based long-term care. So it's a way of using, investable funds in a way that can come back out to you tax-free if you're using it for health care, or you can also pass it tax-free to your children. So different companies offer different lines, and I would invite people to investigate all the options available. But this animal does exist, and it has worked wonderfully for a lot of clients.
So important. Absolutely implore you all to plan and to get in touch with David or someone like David to help you plan for your future and invest in these types of vehicles, because I am telling you from experience working in the healthcare industry for the last decade, too many people did not plan and lost their assets because they were paying out of pocket 100% for care that they could have planned to get help paying.
$4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month. Boom,
absolutely.
Boom, boom.
David, we have to go to break. I never have enough time. There's so much more to talk about, but I want you to give your contact information before we go to the break. If someone needs to get in touch with you regarding planning for their future financially, how can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. You can give a phone call at 404-821-7777. You can also go to the website www.retireretire.com. Retiring so nice, I named it twice. And again, the number is 404-821-7777, or the website is retireretire.com. And I invite anybody to reach out, and happy to spend an hour with them to go over whatever needs to be done.
Okay, and I'm Jeannie Pete, and I'm here with David at Heritage Wealth Advisors, and we have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk more about preserving your assets and planning so that you can have a lifetime income. A lot more to come, so stay with us. Hello, I'm Jean Pete, and I welcome you back to our show, Better Living. Better Living is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and is sponsored by Homestead Hospice, where commitment to education and premier hospice care helps patients and families through life's most important journey. Thanks for staying with me. I'm Jeannie Pete, and again, I am here today with David Allred with Heritage Wealth Advisors. David, thanks for staying with me.
Thank you.
Not that I'd let you out of the studio because we have a whole other half hour to go. I put them in the corner. For you folks that can't see, I put all the guests in the corner and they have to sit at a chair in the little corner of the studio. It's pretty funny. Anyway, thank you for coming again to the show this week. Important information about preserving assets and providing lifetime income. And we're going to continue to talk about ways that folks can prepare to live the rest of their life and make sure that they don't outlive their money.
Absolutely.
So we talked in the first half hour of the show about 401ks and the importance of rolling that into an IRA, and you talked about Roth IRAs as an option. And so depending on where you're at in your life, a Roth might be better or not based upon tax benefits. So if you don't know what I'm talking about right now, I'm going to have David just give a real quick, simple recap of what we talked about in the first half hour.
The 401k that most everybody's employer has, when you retire, you want to roll that over into an IRA so that you have complete control over investment choices. And then if you believe that the tax bracket system is not going to work for you, you're going to be placed in a higher bracket through the rest of your retirement, then a Roth conversion may be a very good vehicle to get away from taxes, because the IRA, you have a partner, and it's called the IRS. So every dollar that comes out of the IRA is taxable. If you're in a low enough tax bracket, that may not be a problem, and you can just sail on, as Jeannie was saying, in a traditional IRA. If, however, you're going to be, bumping up against different tax brackets, or the income is being forced upon you, then doing a Roth conversion can make sense, because then you pay taxes at today's rates, but then never, ever pay taxes again. So it can grow to millions of dollars, and there's no taxes on that growth.
As I'm listening to you talk, I love the way that you put things. And, I was in the financial industry, so I understand a little bit more than I might be letting on today. But I love when folks can put things in simplified terms and bring something that might be very overwhelming into something that folks can understand. And I'm reading your credentials, and I give a questionnaire to all the folks that I have come on the radio so that it keeps me in line and keeps me focused and keeps me assured that I get important information out to you, because you listen to me every week and I want to do a good job. So as I'm looking at my questionnaire, David, I'm looking at your name. Who are you? And you said, I am David Allred, financial coach and investment advisor. As you're talking, I really do feel that whole sense of a financial coach. And it's different. It's different than just someone saying, let's put it here, here, or here. You're coaching people.
Absolutely.
Based on what is going on with them to live the rest of their lives in the best way possible.
I look at it, and thank you for that compliment. I take it seriously, because it's not about selling product or stocks or bonds or insurance or anything like that. It's about helping people understand the true value of money, what it really means to them. I mean, again, it means going to the grocery store and buying milk and bread and everything else. But, does it mean safety? Does it mean security? Does it mean that you're creating a legacy, that you're, going from a successful life to a significant one, creating that type of legacy. So, there's a lot of times it's not helping people with a portfolio problem. It's helping a portfolio with a people problem. Mm-hmm. If people ask me, is the market up today? How'd the market do today? Is it up? Is it down? I don't know, and I don't care. Because the market, if you're looking at it day to day to day to day, you're going to drive yourself insane. If you think that you're going to get financial advice from a magazine that was published, went to press weeks ago, shipped out, mailed, and landed at your doorstep, the information's dated the minute it was printed. The top 10 stocks to buy now. There's a great Kiplinger magazine from 2000, the 10 stocks to own for the next decade. And one of them was Enron, and another one was MCI WorldCom, both of which evaporated.
And Lucent Technologies and all of those companies that are no longer around. Lovely.
And it was, if anybody knew that if these people on these financial shows, TV shows, which I won't name, if they really knew the stock to buy, the sector to be in, they would be doing it from a laptop in the Bahamas, drinking a drink with the little umbrella in it. They don't know any more than anybody else. I don't know. But what I do know is that you have to be diversified. You have to take control of your finances. And not listen to the noise, because what happens is people buy high and sell low instead of everybody thinks, I'm going to buy low and sell high. So if you can get away from the emotionality of it, I think I just made that word up.
It's okay.
The emotion
we'll call it
of
a Davidism.
There you go. If you can get away
Look,
from
you named it retire. You can say whatever you want.
I guess so. If you can get away from that type of the noise of what's going on and have a truly diversified portfolio, have an efficient portfolio, have the guarantees built in to different segments of the portfolio, you can cancel your subscription to all these magazines. You don't have to watch the ticker at the end of the night. I have a client up in North Georgia, and he said every night at 10:20 he would switch to the news to see if the green arrows were up or the red arrows were down for the stock market. And after we were able to get him kind of on a good path, he doesn't care anymore. He relaxes. He goes and tends to his farm and his grandkids, and he's free of that stress. I mean, he's in his 70s worrying about what the day-to-day market is. We have the sequester, we have the fiscal cliff, we have all these kind of Washington machinations that will drive you insane. And my job is to just cut through that chaff, get something streamlined, get something that you understand. If you don't understand it, you shouldn't own it. Warren Buffett says that all the time, and he seems to be doing all right. Get something that you understand, that you can, conceptualize and know is working for you, and then go enjoy life. Forget about the up and the down and the left and the right. If you're in there and you're truly diversified, you've got the right mindset, which is where I come in, then you don't have to worry about this stuff.
And so he's not just coaching you on your finances, he's coaching you on how you best can live the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
But also next to your name, it says investment advisor. I don't want to belittle that. That's a big deal. So can you tell the folks what that means, that you are an investment advisor? You're a registered investment advisor?
Exactly.
Yes, RIA. That's important.
It is important. And I don't have customers, I have clients. I have a fiduciary duty to put my clients' needs ahead of my own. So not to pick on the traditional stockbroker, but they have a job to do. They broker stocks. I mean, it's pretty straightforward if you think about it. And their alliance is to the brokerage firm. I mean, it's in the paperwork that's in that 80 pages of paperwork that you signed. My 80 pages of paperwork says that I work for you, the client, and so I have to put your needs first. It's not, there are good mutual fund companies out there, but perhaps they're offering golf clubs for the next 10 clients that a broker sends in. I don't get golf clubs. I have to put my clients' needs ahead of my own and whatever is the most efficient. So for us, using the Registered Investment Advisor platform, we use a truly diversified fund-to-funds institutional level that has 12,000 equities across 42 capital markets.
So talk a little bit more. What is the fund of funds?
It's basically a structured index fund that owns virtually every equity out there: large cap, micro cap, bonds, fixed income. And it's Greece, it's the U.S., it's United Kingdom, it's Australia. It's where capital moves. And a lot of times people will say, well, I have a diversified portfolio. I have 10 mutual funds in my account. Well, we strip back what those 10 mutual funds really own, and you'll see probably 50% overlap of all those funds owning the same thing. And that's what we call correlation. They're all correlated. They all move together. The boat rises and the boat sinks based on one big wave. What a diversified portfolio means is you have uncorrelated or non-correlated asset classes, assets, so that if one is up, another is down, and if one is down, another one is up. That way, when you have an S&P or a Dow hiccup, your Hang Seng or your DAX index are doing well. Everybody's talking about Greece, for example, going off, into oblivion. Their equity market's actually up 24% because they're paying a premium to be in that market. Obviously, you don't want to put 100% in there. That's how the former governor of New Jersey about wiped his fund off the map. He went too heavy. Again, if you think stock picking, market timing, and track record investing is going to be the key to your success, I would ask you to kind of rethink that. Is there someone is telling you, I know the stock to buy? Well, then why are they telling you? Why don't they go out and buy as much of it as they human? Why aren't they mortgaging their house to buy every bit of that stock if they think it's the best thing since sliced bread? What is it they know that 7 billion other people on the planet don't know? They don't. It might be an educated guess. They might have done a lot of research and they have their best, intentions, but they don't know. And then market timing. When do I?
Okay, wait. Before we get into market timing, I want to kind of make it a little bit more simple again, because here's a frame of thought. Like you said, people think they're diversified because they own 10 mutual funds. When you say the fund of funds is like a big index fund, I used to get turned off by index funds because I thought, well, you know what exactly are you paying for? You're going to buy an index fund and it's just going to go like whatever the S&P does that day. But what you said is it invests in several different indexes. Right.
Right.
So you are diversifying not only your maybe small equity funds and large equity funds and bond funds and balance funds, but you're also diversifying your indexes that you're investing in.
Correct.
And so what's happening is instead of the large waves that you're going to surf on, you might be just taking the smaller road to earning more income over the long haul.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Right. And you're going to determine the pace of which the risk is that you want to take based upon how you diversify within that index of funds, correct?
Absolutely.
And so let's talk to folks about what some choices might be in how they diversify and how they can be smart about that. How do you guide them along that diversification?
You've done your homework. No, that's you're absolutely dead right. The best way to describe it again is a structured index fund. You're right. You can just go out and buy an S&P 500 index fund from any one of a number of places, and you're right. You're just going to ride the S&P. What this does is it goes beyond the S&P and it pulls out like IPOs, for example. When I say it's structured, a lot of people were thinking, well, are we going to add Facebook to the fund?
Which is IPO is an initial public offering for a company that is just going to the market now for the first time after being privately owned.
Correct.
And there can be a lot of hullabaloo and excitement and emotion around it, but it may not be a good buy, like what David's about to say about Facebook.
So in this structured fund of funds, these initial public offerings, IPOs, are not admitted for the first 3 years. Not too much volatility, not enough track record. So by having some filters and some standards, bankrupt companies are not included. So a General Motors would not be in there. And another thing about a traditional index fund is there's a delay between buying and selling of funds to keep the S&P 500 or the S&P 600 current. That can have some inefficiencies in that as well. So by being able to get the most efficient, cleanest, balance of these different equities across all these different markets, then you have the diversity. And what a client sits down with us, as you were saying, they can decide how aggressive they want to be. Do they want to have a lot of micro cap, a lot of emerging markets, that can have a lot more movement, both up and down? Or do they want to be a little bit, on the more cautious side, a little more slow and steady, and dial in more of your large cap, more of your fixed income, your bond funds that won't have the big pitches, but will carry your boat, on a more steady course?
Okay, great. Thanks for pulling back for me now. And then you were just about head into timing the market. So let's talk about what is timing the market.
Timing the market is when you decide, I want to buy low and sell high. You have read all the papers, you've looked at the news, you're doing your graphs on your computer, and you're like, now is the time to buy stock A. I'm going to buy it today at 2 o'clock, and then you watch that stock and you think, okay, I'm now going to sell it at 4 o'clock in 6 weeks from now, and you've decided when is the time to get in and when is the time to get out, and it just doesn't work. I mean, study after study, report after report, you just can't do it. If people could do it, again, they'd be doing it from their laptop on the beach in the Bahamas, drinking a fruity drink with an umbrella. So market timing just doesn't work.
And it's a full-time job.
And exactly. Do you not, if you want to sit at your terminal all day and look at the graphs and the charts, and for some people that is a hobby, they enjoy doing it. It's, gives them something to do, I guess. But I think I would rather be at the beach, with the kids, having dinner, going to the movies, not worrying about it. And that's the great thing about, the programs that we offer, because I'm obviously not be able to sit at the terminal 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have that done for us. We have that type of diversification so that the market is random and it's efficient. If you believe the randomness works and if you believe the efficiency is there, then you should take advantage of it full throttle.
So how do you, is there a time frame you meet with folks or you contact folks regarding their portfolio? How often do you recommend that they change it once they decide the allocations for riskiness?
When we sit down with a client, we go through, a risk tolerance questionnaire to find out where they are in their personal beliefs. I mean, I have high volatility, high risk clients who are in their 60s and 70s. I have super conservative clients in their 20s. So everybody's different. There's 31 flavors at the ice cream store for a reason. So we back in the paycheck that comes in, the automatic money, guarantee the income for life, and then we add in the amount of risk or amount of tolerance they want to have for market growth, and that just determines it. Once it's there, the fund actually reallocates every day. It's a daily reallocation
to keep the percentages that they chose the same.
Exactly, and there's a study, Benson Biebauer, and they basically determined what brought success to portfolios the most. 2% was market timing, 2% was other things, and then basically 92% of it was the allocation. And if you keep that allocation just right, then you'll get the success that you were aiming for. And what happens with so many people is they get a statement, they put it in a drawer, they meet with the guy once a year, think there's lots of swings in the middle of the year, you get out of balance. The fund of funds rebalances every single day at the fund level. So your statement won't see trades and charges and everything else, which is great, keeps it very clean, very efficient. The easiest way to increase your profit is to decrease your expenses. Mm-hmm. So the easiest way to increase your bottom line at home is to cut costs. We see this in Washington right now, the big argument going back and forth.
Well, we hope cutting costs will increase the bottom line.
We hope. And something's got to happen. I don't know what. But they didn't elect me, so I don't have a say, unfortunately. But if you can decrease your commissions, your trades, your costs like that, boom, you're up a couple percent right off the bat. So if you can do that, and again, by having it at the fund level, you don't have to worry about it. It's not have to sit and monitor. It's being done for you across all these different, categories and asset classes. So it's really going to be it's the most diversified model I've ever seen.
But what about this? Because there are different markets that are going to go through swings that you're not going to want to probably invest in Italy right now. So you want to stay out of that. Your fund will avoid that automatically because someone is in there saying where they need to go. How does that all work?
Well, that gets into, style picking and track record investing side of things. That's an opinion. Maybe Italy will, maybe Italy won't.
Maybe they will, maybe they won't.
But if you have Italy representing 0.5% of your portfolio, for example, then whether Italy goes off a cliff or Greece goes off a cliff or China, whatever's going on, it's not going to be that impactful. But if it does go up, you participate. So I would recommend, again, if you want to be truly diversified, you have to go across, the pond. You have to go across, another study. Whatever country you live in, typically you own more of that country's equities than any other country. Mm-hmm. U.S., U.K., Australia, all of them. It's just, geographic bias. That may not necessarily be a good thing. So you want to be diversified across the market. So, you don't have to guess, will Italy come back? Will Germany bail them out? Will this happen or that happen? You know that you're covered no matter what. You've got the full range of it.
But if they want to play a little bit, they get their diversification. You get your dollar amount. They can still give you some money if they want to invest in a stock or index or a fund or whatever that they think is going to take a nice ride for the next 12 months. And you will help with them with that regarding your training as a registered investment advisor?
I would certainly give advice where I think I bring value. So if that's the case, but it's really important to have, again, everything across the mix. So that way, when you don't have, what people were seeing was, a guy had a stock. There was a gentleman had $2.3 million IRA, a lot of money,
wow.
Pretty good amount. It was all in one stock.
Oh Lord!
And that stock it was MCI WorldCom, because he'd worked for the phone company and it just went away. And he actually sued his broker for not diversifying him. And he did get a settlement, but it was like $30,000.
Lord, that's
so
terrible.
it's there's investing and then there's speculating, and being picking that one stock or thinking you've got that one. It made me think earlier about sectors or technology. If you're going to own a technology, own the whole spectrum. It's going to be
there you go.
It's going to be the Ciscos, the Googles, the phone wire, the satellite, the computer, the software. Own the whole category, because a lot of times people think they're in for example, a technology sector, and they have 10 wireless companies, they have 10 backbone companies, and it's like that's really not diversified across technology. You're just vertically in one section when you want to be horizontal across the whole thing, if the technology is something that interests you.
There's so much to talk about. I mean, we haven't talked about hedge funds. We didn't get to trusts and wills and all of that. And there's never enough time. But we do have a few minutes before we end the show. So before we do that, I want you to give your information for contact if folks want to get in touch with you regarding seeing you about preserving their assets and not outliving their life, having a lifelong income. So how would they get in touch with you one more time?
They can give me a phone call at 404-821-7777, or they can visit my website at www.retireretire.com. Retiring so nice, I named it twice. And again, the number is 404-821-7777, and the website is retireretire.com, and they can contact me through it.
And we've talked a lot about David's vehicle fund of funds. Early in the show, we talked about 401ks and IRAs and Roth IRAs. We delved just a little bit about their Social Security and long-term care insurance, but there's a lot of vehicles out there. And, David does call himself he's a registered investment advisor and financial coach. And he's going to coach you about all the different vehicles that he's aware of that we didn't even get to on this show. My goal every week is to educate and inform you so that you can be prepared, so that you can live better, hence the name of the show, Better Living. So I do implore you to call David or call your investment advisor, because if you're planning for your future will be brighter. So David, thank you so much for being on the show with us today. And before we go, just maybe top 2 things people should think about.
Well, we hadn't talked about it, but the one thing that I always tell people about is check the beneficiary of your accounts. IRAs, 401ks, bank statements, insurance policies. So often somebody will have a spouse listed as a beneficiary that predeceases them, and they don't update the beneficiary.
And you're leaving yourself unprotected and vulnerable.
Absolutely, and it's nothing. And I say this every time I give a speech, every time I give a presentation. I'm like Bob Barker and the Pets thing that he did at the end
Spay and neuter.
At the end of The Price is Right. Check your beneficiaries. The bank may have changed names 14 times, may have lost the paperwork. You have no idea what a nightmare it is if the beneficiary is not updated.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm going to have you back because there's a whole lot more that we need to discuss that's very important for our listeners to know. But today, I think you gave us a lot of great advice. I'm Jeannie Pete. Thanks for listening. Have a blessed day and week ahead. And listen here, same time next week and every week. Homestead Hope Foundation is your resource for a healthy life. God bless.